Hello, my little weirdos. Alright, I got out of the shower and I definitely feel like a new person. But my sunburn is turning into a tan, if you can see. Man, look at that. The sun yesterday, it was like cloudy, but look at that. It faded out when I washed it, just came right out. Faded out the color. But that's cool because it is Easter, so it's kind of like I didn't really was hoping it would fade a little, but that's like dropped right out. But yeah, you don't see, well, you see a little darker. I had a sleeved shirt. It wasn't one of my tank tops, so you can see where the sleeve end here. But it was like you could see right there. The shirt came up to there. The next ones will be warmer, so I have three different tank tops that have that. You've seen them before, but I call that groovy pattern. So it's bright colors and abstract things and stuff like that. Because that to me is a power. It's color, yeah, But yeah, I noticed in the car coming home, I moved the visor and I saw my face was all red. I'm like, huh. And I just thought to myself, it looks like I'm flushed or something. And I was like, I'm not like out of breath or flushed or anything. What's up? Sunburn. It didn't even occur to me. So much for the vitamin D dose I got yesterday, but it feels good, as you can see. I mean, not it doesn't actually burn. It just feels a little warm. I think it was just starting to burn when we left. We were out there what, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, about an hour and a half, or no, I mean 2.5 hours, 2.5, almost three, between 2.5 and 3 hours. Um, but I still have about an hour and a half before my they pick me up for Easter, and if you're able to protest, you really should go. Um, I know some of you couldn't make it, like I couldn't make that April 5th one, um, just because I couldn't find a ride. But hopefully, um, now this gal, and I still have the other gal that I didn't even connect with. I didn't find out. I'll ask her on Messenger if she wound up going to one. Which one did she go to? It would be funny if she wound up going to the one we went to. But yeah, my voice definitely has taken a beating because I'm actually not trying to keep it low right now. But if you're able to get to a protest, because there will be protests until he's gone, you should. When a bunch of cars go by, like we didn't, it was said in the park, but it wasn't in the park. Once we walked through the park, we did a line on each end of the road, each side of the road, and just all the way. And this as new people came, they moved up on the hill, and more people. We went down there, where there was a little like a mini shopping thing there, and when a bunch of cars would go by, they would honk. I mean, like not just a honk honk. I mean, honk, honk. And that was really cool. Now, yes, we had some people that were going by, not just the guy I talked about in the other one with the big Trump flag, the big 3x5 type flag, and he was getting in people's faces. I mean, he was walking up on people trying to piss people off, but nobody took his bait. Not at our protest. And as soon as a cop would ask us, "Oh, keep this a little clear, this drive thing," everybody was like, "No, no problem, no problem. Gotcha. Sorry, didn't realize we were getting in there." Because sometimes you kind of squeeze out. No problems. But we did have some people driving by that He drove by a few times. He had an American flag and then a Trump flag on the back of his truck. You know how they do that. It was like, ugh. But he couldn't even have it high up because probably the laws or whatever in the town. He had to have it lower down, so it didn't even have as much impression. It was like you're flying their flag at knee level, whatever. And there was a few that would drive by, and this just made me laugh. They would go by, and I mentioned this in the other one. There was several that did this, and there were different vehicles. They would get honk to get people's attention, and then somebody would roll down the window, and they were like dark windows, of course, a black dark truck, come on, or a dark SUV with the dark windows, and they'll roll down the window, and you'll see a finger stick up, barely up, and then pull it down real fast and close the window. I'm like, what a coward. I was like, I'm brave, don't hurt me! Wow. And the gal next to me, she was hilarious. Every time a Trumper came by, like on our side, and would yell out or do something like that, she would just start yelling, "That's why we're here! That's why we're here!" And then I would start yelling, "Protect the Constitution! Protect democracy! That's why we're here!" And we just start yelling. Start laughing. I mean, it was funny because, and I would say, "Do you see what a guy?" She goes, "I know." I was like, if you're gonna flip them off, be proud about it. Hey, fuck you people. And you're just like, wow, that was a super non-committal Trump supporter there, wasn't it? So, take heart. But what was, and besides all of that, which made it rich, the fact that so many people were honking and like, yes, and then the ones that were yelling like about, for Trump, were doing it like in a scared way. And that was rich enough. But when the kids, and it wasn't just kids, but passengers would drive by, as the person driving would be honking, and there'd be people holding signs up back to us, "Thank you," or, "We're with you," and so I was like, oh my God. You'd see kids going, like a picture of the Statue of Liberty or something. I'm like, what kids understand. And yes, I said to the people next, I was like, oh my God, that's making me cry. She's like, I know. I was like, wow. But guys, if you have things and you can't be at a protest, but you're driving past one, that support really buoys us, because you had Trump supporters that lived in the area, were going around trying to sell for $1 little bottles of water, like this big, for $1. I'm like, sorry, a fella here was giving it away. And he was. One of the protesters, while she was holding the signs, he would go around a couple times and be like, if anybody wants water, it wasn't iced or anything, but I drink my shit room temperature anyway. But I mean, it was free. He didn't ask for anything. He said, anybody need water? Gotta wet your whistle to yell. These Trump people were trying to frickin' sell bottles of water. I'm like, and not only that, but all we had to do was just walk over there to the little store, little convenience store type of thing, and just get something there. I'm sure you'd get more for $1, get a big thing for a couple bucks type of deal. So that was just like, wow. Trying to profit off of the protests. How fucking lame. Trumpers trying to profit from the protests. Wow. Right? Wow. I just had to tell you guys that. I know I took a long way to get there, but I wanted to set the scene, because what the Trumpies were trying to do to disrupt or turn the protest to less than peaceful. Which is, we were warned. I told everybody. I read that before I was picked up. So the people around me, I almost got it all off. They said, and I'm going to say it again here before I log off with you guys. One of the groups, I can't remember if it was Indivisible or Visibility or Hands Off or 50501. I don't remember who it was. But they had some different, things with different tips and stuff. And one of them was that they were telling us they were having people in even the smaller places in states go to disrupt. And then they're trying, they want to be able to, announce martial law today is what they wanted on the 20th. Or like the 21st or whatever it was, because they want the protests, or at least one, to get where there's some sort of violence, so he can say, oh, martial law, which it still wouldn't be legitimate for real. I mean, but what they said was, on the April 5th ones, they had some that did that. And one of them did get right up in this guy's face. It was just one, like, single people. It wasn't like groups, like, oh, wait, nope. They're sending single people in. This guy looked big old beard, and shit like that. And one phrase, just keep saying it when somebody's like that. Protect the Constitution. Protect the Constitution. So just so you all know, I'm saying it again, even though I said it in a video last night. Also, I sometimes said protect democracy. And the thing is, when you attack, when you verbally, counter them with protect the Constitution, how can anybody in their sane mind, even Donald, dances around it, okay? So there's not much they can do if they're arguing with you when you're saying protect democracy, protect the Constitution. What are they going to say? You're wrong? So they just leave. And I'm like, okay. So when that happened, the guy was like behind me when he came up to somebody. And he wasn't just going to, like, move out of his way so he can get by with his flag on the sidewalk, And he got all up in his face with his flag here, And it was, like, right behind me. I'm like, ugh. He's handling it himself, But I was kind of keeping an eye on it kind of thing. And then I thought about what I read. And I just started... Protect! I didn't even turn around. I just said it really loud. Protect the Constitution! Protect it! And like within seconds, I saw him walking up, left. And then I saw him across the road a couple times, and he was up against somebody right across from where I was. He was like, there was just a sparse amount of people there in like groups, and he was up on them really in their proxemics. And I figured, well, my voice is loud. Maybe even with the traffic, I'll go over it. And I started screaming really loud, protect the Constitution! Protect the Constitution! I saw him, like, his head snap, and then he just started walking. I'm like, oh, I don't know if he heard me or not, or if it was just happened to be, but. So I know for a fact it worked when they were behind me. I'm not quite sure if they heard me across the street, but they may have, because they heard me when there was less traffic. Because I said something, they yelled it back. But that's something to keep in mind. And I wasn't sure if I'd remember, so I took red marker, you see a little bit, even I tried to scrub. I wrote all along here, protect the Constitution, all along my arm. So, I might do that again, because it'd be very convenient, if somebody's getting up in your face, just Protect the Constitution, right up in front of them. Protect the Constitution, so they see the words and they hear the words. Protect the Constitution. Protect the Constitution. Protect. Don't let them talk. Right over and over and over and over, like you're telling a child not to touch the cookie jar. That's the only way to get them out. And it's peaceful. You be more of a bully with your words than they are. They want to yell louder. They want to yell loud in my face. I'll yell loud too. Protect the Constitution! Protect the Constitution! Just dead stare them. Protect the Constitution! It's kind of hard to argue with somebody yelling back in your face, staring you dead smack in the eyes, and yelling that. It's a little difficult to withstand that, especially if it's somebody with a loud voice and knows how to look mean, or at least serious. The trick about it is to feel it. Even if you don't mean it, you have to feel like that steel rod is in your spine. You have to believe what you're saying. That's right. Come at me. Just come lay a finger on me. Go ahead. Now you might be scared to shit, but you gotta do it, because that is what they respond to. They cave, like all bullies, when they're stood up to. When the bully gets bullied, they shut up and run. So, and it's totally peaceful. You're just having your right to speech. Sorry that you're in my face while I'm doing it. Perhaps you should get out of my face, because I'm going to keep doing it. It's passive aggressive. It's like, why are you making you hit yourself? Like the bullies using your hand to hit yourself and going, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why? That kind of shit. Just play it back on them. Yeah, you can be mean girl too if you want to. And that seems to be what they respond to. You want to be a bully? I'll show you a bully. Protect the Constitution. Protect the Constitution. I'm not saying anything but protect the Constitution. But I didn't say it that way, did I? That's aggressive. Passively. That's passive aggressive. I learned something when I worked with inmates. I learned something as a corrections officer. I learned a few things. And I worked 99% of the time with the men. So they don't intimidate me. They really don't. And they shouldn't intimidate you. Because bullies, listen, I was bullied a lot. For my weight when I was younger, for being a Jehovah's Witness when I was younger, for being, like that was my choice. Okay, I understand the way cults think in a way. A little bit. Because they are a cult. And as soon as you show a little bit of assertion, a little bit of power, a little bit of confidence, fucking fold, because their confidence is faux confidence. Their acting all super secure is false security. They're doing it, they're blustering to intimidate and make you believe that. But when somebody who actually possesses those abilities, that, go ahead, take a swing at me. I'll fucking take a punch so I can sue your ass. Go for it. They don't know what to do with that, because they can't back down or they look like a pussy. If they do it, they're in trouble and you won anyway, even with a broken nose or a black eye. See what I'm saying? And they're smart enough to know that much. So you got them over a barrel. Whatever they do, you've already fucking deflated them. So they just slink away. as quickly as they possibly can disengage themselves without looking like they lost. It's a pissing contest, and a woman can win a pissing contest even with a man. And I will forever be grateful to that Irish lieutenant who was the first person in the prison on our first day that told us some things. And he told us the women hold the upper hand, the women officers, even in the men's prisons. And this is why. And he proceeded to tell us. And he was correct. Women, we have more power than you think. Women, the men have convinced us that our voice isn't as loud. It is. They've tried to take that voice from us. Just men in general, because they felt threatened. That's the story of the red lipstick I told you about. Once you know that, and once you know that most men won't strike a woman, especially in front of others. Most, some will, most won't. And most men that see a man do punch out a woman or something, they don't fare well, because they find that disrespecting women in general is very wrong. Because in a lot of the cultures, you don't do that, because you don't want that happening to your mother or your sister or your auntie. Therefore, you don't do it to other people's mothers, sisters, or aunties. It's just a thing. As bloodthirsty as men can be, I'm not saying they all are, they still don't really want to be seen. A good majority do not want to be seen punching out a woman. Or even doing anything to, like, tower, you know what I mean? Tower over them or intimidate, type of thing. It's not a good look, you know? And if you're short, like me, I'm 5'4", even more handy, because it doesn't necessarily, she could be a 5'1" woman, could be a triple black belt. This big old, pumped weightlifter. She can kick his ass. You don't know. But it always makes me kind of chuckle, the guys that still think that way. You have no idea. And women have other ways than just out brute forcing you. We actually have a lot in our arsenal. We have a lot in our quiver. And a lot of women don't understand that. They don't believe that. And I'm telling you, it's true. It's true. And I'm still learning even more every year. It's like every year I'm more amazed of, like, God, that even works there? And the older you get, it seems like you can be much more blunt. If you put in an "oh honey," "oh sweetheart," or a "bless your heart." And I think older women really have a gold mine, and you don't realize it. A lot of you don't realize it. You're thinking more of the you're older, you're more frail type of thing. But you gotta learn to get around those things that change. I have a messed up wrist and a bad foot. Gotta think of other ways, other things to disarm them with. And that means verbally disarm as well. You pull the rug out from under somebody. It doesn't have to be physical. If you pull the rug out from under somebody and disorient them and they lose their words, they've lost. And men lose their words more often than women. So you need to use that properly. Use it for good, not evil. If you're interested, if anybody's interested in what my take is on the older women get a lot of leeway type of thing, let me know and I'll discuss that. Or if there's anything you want to hear me talk about, or curious what I think, if I have enough information about that or something, I'll talk about it. Um, I just don't think women, a lot of women, really don't understand that when you're in a room full of guys, you actually have the upper hand. When you're working as an officer and you're in a men's prison as a woman, there's so many ways to shut them down. Making comments about your body or your boobs or whatever it is. There's so many ways to shut them down that they don't want to tango with you again. First, you shut them down in front of their homies. Works like a charm. How many of you guys like to be shut down solidly in front of other men by a woman? I don't see many hands. I'll bet most of you take it's you could take being dressed down by a guy before a woman. Because it irks a lot of guys. And then you live in their mind rent free. But don't use it for evil. Use it for survival. Anyway, y'all have a good Easter. Peace out. I think I'm still a little loopy.